Hello, parents and students. This is Eric Sampson, one of the trip leaders for the Costa Rica 2015 trip. I just want to go ahead and let you see the PowerPoint in case you were not able to be in attendance at our first informational meeting. So let's go ahead and get started. What we've got is, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our trip. We'll be going to Costa Rica, obviously. That's why I call it the Costa Rica trip. It's going to be led by Sarah Fisher, who teaches AP World History and AP Government at CK High, and myself, Eric Sampson. I teach science at CK Junior High. We just got back from taking a group of 23 students and 3 adults to Belize and Guatemala in Central America this past spring break, and now we're planning our next trip, which is going to be spring break of next year. That'll be, I believe, April 4th through 11th. And it is going to be open to students who are currently in grades 8 through 11, so they'll be at the high school next year, 9th through 12th grade. Also, it's worth noting that parents are welcome to come along on this trip. You are required to pay a little bit extra. Mostly this is because you have private rooms. You don't have to share beds. We have room for 30 participants on this trip. That's because we want to keep ourselves on one bus. And I should also point out that we need at least 20 people to sign up by May 15th. Otherwise, we will have to cancel this trip and everyone will get a full refund of their money. Now, speaking of money, how much does this cost? It costs $27.86. Adults pay an extra $375. Once again, that's for the private rooms they get. This number here is subject to a little bit of change. If we get more than 20 people sign up, it goes down a little bit. Here's what the price includes. Round-trip airfare to and from Costa Rica, 7 nights of lodging while we're in Costa Rica, 3 meals a day while we're in Costa Rica, although not on the days we leave and return. And also we have the services of a full-time bilingual tour guide, which is a really great thing to have. These services are all provided by a company called Explorica, who we worked with on our past trip to Belize and Guatemala, and we were very, very happy with the service they provided. Now, the purpose of the trip, apart from just having an awesome time in Costa Rica, is also to acquaint students with foreign travel experience. It is really a very valuable educational experience to step outside our country's borders, to experience going through the customs, having your passport stamped. This is a neat experience. Also, to eating different foods, experiencing different cultures. It's very much a very powerful and educational experience. Also, we want the students to develop an appreciation for biodiversity. You know, Costa Rica is an amazingly diverse place in terms of the life forms that are there, and it's really hard to understand it until you are standing in a jungle with so much life around you. It really is truly transformative experience. And also, a trip like this helps to build the confidence and friendships among kids. So there's a lot of, you just see as we go through this, there's a lot of things you have to do that are almost outward bound, like rafting and zip lining and things like that. And sometimes there's acrophobia or whatever. It pushes our boundaries a little bit, and also it helps the students develop some wonderful friendships. So it is a wonderful growing opportunity for the kids. I'd love it if they could participate. Let's just go ahead and see what some of the other details. First of all, why do we pick Costa Rica? Well, one thing, Costa Rica is in the Americas, and that makes it less expensive to travel to than further places, say, in Asia or Europe. Also, too, I'm a science teacher. I love all things scientific, and you know what? Costa Rica offers just a very rich environment to experience. First of all, the biodiversity. Costa Rica is the most biologically diverse place on the planet. Let me give you a little bit of a comparison. The United States, if you take all 50 states, has a total of about 23,000 species of plants, animals, and funguses growing here. Now, Costa Rica, which is smaller than South Carolina, which, by the way, is not a very big state, has 500,000 species. So that means in any given acre of land, you're likely to come across 20 times as many different organisms. It really is a mind blower. Also, we have a chance to experience another culture, the Tico culture they call it. So the students have an opportunity to use foreign currency, to taste foods they haven't seen, to see people interact in ways that are both foreign to them and similar. You know, seeing families interact in ways that are very similar to the way we interact with our families is a very cool thing for these kids to do. Also, I should point out that Costa Rica is the most developed of the Central American countries. It's very European-like in feel. It's often called the Switzerland of Central America. It has a very high-functioning government. It doesn't have a malaria problem, or it really doesn't have much of a sanitation problem. And also, let's face it, it has an amazingly stunning physical environment, not just the plants and the animals, but the mountains, the volcanoes, the beaches, the rivers. It's just a very lovely place to see. Well, why ecotourism? You know, why not just go and look at cathedrals and palaces and museums? Well, ecotourism is an interesting thing. Here's what it does. First of all, it does motivate students to learn about the richness of life on our planet, biodiversity if you want to call it that. Hate to keep using that word. It also exposes students to different cultures, just as a trip to Europe or Asia would. But one thing that ecotourism does that's different is it keeps the students very active, and I've noticed that keeps kids very engaged in the process, that there's a lot of excitement among the kids. They're looking with great anticipation to each new thing that they're going to do, and they're doing this in this amazing environment where there's so much to learn, and they have a guide who helps them learn. Also, too, it's worth noting that participating in a trip like this really does help preserve the habitat for endangered animals, because countries like Costa Rica, Belize, they have developed ecotourism as a major industry, and this provides them with an incentive to protect their lands. For instance, in Costa Rica, 25% of the land in Costa Rica is protected parkland, and the reason they're able to do that is because they see the financial incentive of protecting it, because it brings people like us to see it. So you can feel good about yourself for going there, because in a very real way, participating in a trip like this, you really are helping to preserve the amazing wild places on our planet. So let's just get on with our agenda. What's going to happen is, day one, we're going to arrive in San Jose. We'll leave probably early in the morning on Saturday, arrive sometime Saturday afternoon. It's not that long of a flight as you might think. We'll probably spend about a total of 6-7 hours in the air. The first night we'll stay in the town of San Jose. It's not really where we want to be. If we get a chance during the day, we might look at a market or something like that, or a museum. But mostly we're just going to crash, swim in the hotel pool, and then get ready for the fun on day two. Well, on day two, we'll get up in San Jose, and we will drive through a very pretty park area to the Rio Sarapiqui, which is a very lovely river that's flowing through a lush tropical canyon. And what is it we're going to do there? We're going to go whitewater rafting. Now, this is Class 2, Class 3 rapids, so this is nothing scary or frightening. It's basically what you're seeing here. It's moving along pretty well. There's some calm stretches where you'll see toucans and monkeys in the trees, things like that. But we really want to start the trip off with this, because it gives the kids a sense of togetherness, gives them something very exciting to do the very first day, step outside their comfort zone a little bit. We will, of course, be using the services of a professional guiding company that will have lots of safety measures in place, lots of training, just to make sure that we do this in a very safe and responsible way. Then what will we do? After we're done, we'll dry off and we will travel a little bit more. What we'll do now is we'll leave the Sarapiqui River and we'll drive to the town of La Fortuna, which is near Mount Arenal, which is a volcano that we're going to be spending some time near. And we will stay in La Fortuna for the next 3 nights. Now, this is Mount Arenal that you see in the background. It used to be a very active volcano. Actually, it was dormant for a long time, and then in 1968 it erupted and destroyed, buried under lava, 2 of the 3 villages on its flanks. This one did not get destroyed, and that's why they called it La Fortuna, meaning it was the fortunate town. But we'll be staying in hotels with a full view of this. It used to be, up until about 3 years ago, that you would see lava coming out of this on a fairly regular basis. Maybe we'll get super lucky and that'll happen again, but for right now it is in a somewhat dormant state. But that's okay. The environment is wonderful. There's lots of cool things to do there, even if we don't get to see, lava bombs flying out of a crater. Wish we did, darn it. Well, the next day when we wake up, we're going to drive an hour to Tenorio Volcanic Park, and we're going to go on a hike to what is arguably one of the most amazing sights on the planet. It is called the Rio Celeste. And look what you have here. You have 2 volcanic creeks coming in. One brings in water that's rich in carbonates, another one brings in water that's rich in sulfur, and there's a carbonate compound that precipitates out and turns the river this bizarre blue color. And we'll hike a couple miles through, well, I guess maybe about a mile along this super, super blue river that has all this lush green vegetation. And again, it's Costa Rica, so there's toucans and monkeys and all kinds of cool wildlife around. But just the dramaticness of, is that a word? Dramaticness? Just the dramatic blue water and the lush green vegetation is supposed to be something that is not to be missed. And eventually our hike will bring us here to this waterfall that has this incredible blue pool underneath it. Along the way, between where the river turns blue and here, there are places where we are able to get into natural hot springs along the river. So this will take us about a 2.5 hour hike through the jungle. After our hike, we'll have lunch and then come back to our hotel and then go out to Baldy Hot Springs. Now, this is back at Mount Arenal, a different volcano, and there's a lot of thermal waters coming off these volcanoes. There's a lot of magma close to the surface. And unlike Yellowstone, where the water is very stinky, there's just very warm water that they decided to turn into these wonderful jungle water park bathing areas. So Baldy Hot Springs is one that Explorer Car likes to use. Let me just show you a couple pictures over here. So as you can see, I mean, they have water slides that come out. They have multiple pools. They have fake waterfalls, but it's basically this warm tropical water of volcanic water at different pools at different temperatures in a lush jungle environment. And again, the wildlife will be all around us no matter where we go on this trip. But this should be a really fun one. And this one is also open into the evening, so we can continue to enjoy it and have dinner here. On day 4, we'll wake up once again in La Fortuna. And this day we'll start off by going to the La Fortuna Falls. Now this falls here, this is about a 200-foot drop into a pool. It's a fairly large pool. I don't know if you can see, but down at the bottom, I don't know if I can do this here, but down, if you look down at the bottom, there's a person swimming in this pool in this picture, so to give you a sense of scale. Some of us will choose to swim, some of us will just choose to watch it. You know what, the thing about a waterfall is no matter where you are and how hot it is, when you get there, it's a little bit chilly. All that evaporating water makes it a little bit chilly, but it's a very beautiful sight. It's very close. It's in town. It's maybe, I think, a total of, from the car to here, 550 steps I've read, most of them on stairs, but it is a very cool canyon. Then we get in the bus, and we're going to drive to a place called Los Chiles and take a ride on a boat down Caño Negro. Along the way, we'll stop, though, at a place where we'll see this. They have a tree full of iguanas. Now, iguanas are wild. These lizards, which are found throughout Central America, get quite large. They are 6 to 8 feet long, crawling around the trees. They're really cool to look at, and there's a tree we'll stop at near a little restaurant along the way that has hundreds of them in it, and I guarantee you'll be right up close to them. You'll get some nice pictures and really get a chance to see some cool wildlife. But to see cool wildlife, the real place to see it is from the boat. So Caño Negro is a very remote part of Costa Rica. It's close to the Nicaraguan border. And we'll get on these pontoon boats that are covered, so we'll be out of the sun. And if you want to see wildlife, a great place to see it is along the rivers, because the animals come to the water, it's exposed. We will see a lot of wildlife on this trip. So I'm just going to show you in the next few slides some of the things we'll see. You'll see wildlife on the entire trip, but this one particular day we should see quite a bit. One thing you can expect to see are howler monkeys, including, I think they even have some in this area that are albinos. Howler monkeys are the loudest land mammal. These little rascals, they're not much bigger than a golden retriever. They're smaller than that. I mean, they're small animals, but they make this huge, loud, super spooky sound, kind of like a jaguar. You will not believe the sound they make. You will hear these things a lot in Costa Rica, but on this trip you'll actually see them climbing, playing together, babies on their back. It'll be really neat to see. We'll also see these rascals. These are called caimans. They're obviously a type of crocodile-like creature. They are quite frequently spotted in Caño Negro, as are these adorable rascals. Let's face it, everybody loves a sloth. They have both 2- and 3-toed sloths throughout Costa Rica, and they're spotted quite frequently in Caño Negro. And we'll be with guides who know how to spot the animals. I say, if you go to a place like this without a guide, you may not see much. You go with a guide, you'll see a ton of wildlife, and we're going to have a guide, so we're going to see a ton of wildlife, including these rascals, which I have always wanted to see my whole life. They're called basilisk lizards. Some people call them Jesus lizards because they run across the surface of the water, and they are quite common throughout Costa Rica and spotted quite frequently at Caño Negro. I am very much looking forward to seeing one of these. Well, when we come back, we'll have dinner, and then afterwards, in the town of La Fortuna, there is a wildlife preserve that's right near our hotel called Arenal Oasis, and it offers night tours of the rainforest. So you take flashlights and you go out and you see a whole new set of animals that are out at night, including frogs, all kinds of cool frogs, and cool bugs. And, well, it'd just be a very interesting environment, different sounds, walking around with a guide at night. Again, the guide will help us find things. It should be a very unique and cool experience. I've talked to people who've gone to Costa Rica and they say, if you go to Costa Rica, make sure you do a night hike in the rainforest. Well, the next morning is going to be an early one. We're going to get up and head out to Arenal Hanging Bridges and be there by 7:30 in the morning when they open. Here's one thing we found on our trip to Belize and Guatemala. If you get into the jungle before 10 in the morning, you see lots of wildlife, including, in this place, spider monkeys, troops of spider monkeys, with their babies on their back, leaping from tree to tree. It really is worth getting out of bed to see, and that's what we'll do. So this is basically a park that has about 2.5 miles of trails. Along the way, there's 16 of these bridges that carry you through the canopy of the rainforest. So you're at eye level. We will see all kinds of wildlife on this trip, and we'll see it from high up. And it's worth noting that if you have fear of heights, this is one of those places where you're going to have to push your comfort level a little bit. There's nothing dangerous. It's just you're way up in the trees in these things. And I should point out, if any of the things we do on this trip are completely beyond your comfort level, you just let us know. You do not have to participate in all the events. We'll find other things you can do. There's lots that you can do here. You see lots of wildlife without going over these bridges, but we'll also encourage you to push your comfort level a little bit. It's safe, and you might as well do it. Then we'll go back to our hotel, have breakfast, pack up, and then it's time to leave La Fortuna. This is our long day drive. So we'll drive an hour and a half to the flanks of Paz volcano to a place called La Paz Waterfall Gardens. La Paz Waterfall Gardens is a steep canyon that used to be inaccessible, but in recent years they've built a trail system that drops down into this canyon and allows you to see these 5 glorious waterfalls in a cloud forest environment. We're going to have lots of photo opportunities here. It really is this mysterious Jurassic Park-like environment. It's not a particularly long trail, less than a mile, but then afterwards we get to go to, they have like a zoo-like area that includes an outdoor hummingbird garden. And Costa Rica has a crazy amount of hummingbirds, like, I don't know, like many dozens of species. Don't worry, kids, this is not a bird watching trip, but I'll tell you, you will see some awesome birds, and you will see a lot of awesome hummingbirds at this one garden. You also have an opportunity to go into an enclosure that has lots of wild birds and have toucans land on you and things like that. We'll have lunch at La Paz Waterfall Gardens, and then we'll continue on to Quepos, which is down here on the coast. But on the way, we're going to stop right about here, just for a little while, where the Tarcoles River crosses into the highway, and there's a bridge where we'll get to look down and see all these gigantic saltwater crocodiles, which we'll come back and have a close encounter with the next day. But anyway, onwards to Quepos. Quepos is a quaint little town on the Pacific coast. Hopefully we'll have a chance to explore the town a little bit. If not this day, we'll certainly get a chance the next day. But oh my goodness, is the next day going to be awesome. We're going to Manuel Antonio National Park. It is the jewel in the crown of Costa Rica. It is their first national park. It is their best one. And it's also their smallest one, but it is so packed with wildlife. It is crazy. Look at this. It's this lush tropical beaches on the Pacific coast. The water temperature is 85 degrees. It is just a magical spot, and we're going to spend all day just enjoying this environment. So let me show you what it looks like. Basically, Manuel Antonio National Park extends through this beach here, this headland here, down here, and onwards. And so there's a number of these beaches. Some of them are more exposed and have rougher water. And I should point out, we'll have a lot of rules about what you are and are not allowed to do, and we'll have to make an on-the-spot judgment about what the water conditions are like. But obviously, kids, we're going to have to keep you safe. So if the water's rough here, which sometimes it is, we'll definitely come over here, and the water is usually quite calm over here. There's headlands with tide pools and coral. It's a very glorious spot. There are beautiful beaches that have trees that come right down and lean over to provide shade. These trees are just crawling with monkeys, sloths, birds. They say it's just truly amazing to just lay on the beach, looking out the water, and seeing all these cool wildlife all around you. We'll get to do a bit of exploring. We can find little tiny pocket beaches like this one, little jewels that are all to ourselves. There are trails through the jungle. Our guide will show us around and help us spot the wildlife and learn how to see it. But basically, we'll have a whole day to explore this amazing, amazing environment. And then we'll go back and spend the evening once again in Quepos. So we're spending 2 nights in Quepos, and hopefully the afternoon of this day we'll have a chance to do some shopping in Quepos, check out the restaurants, check out the little what they call sodas, or little convenience stores, buy some souvenirs, and have a chance to interact with the culture a little bit. Which brings me to a point. I know a lot of parents are a little bit anxious about sending their kids to somewhere in Central America. You should point out that we've done this, and we understand how to do it safely. Kids will always be in groups. They will always know where they are. But we are going to try to get them into this town as long as our guide assures us that it's a safe one to explore. And spend a couple hours shopping there, I think, would be something that the kids will really, really enjoy. We found our kids on our last trip really valued the time they got to spend shopping in a small town and getting a chance to interact with the local population. But the local population on the beach at Manuel Antonio National Park looks mostly like this. There's 3 species of monkey. There are scarlet macaws and parrots and all kinds of other wild creatures there. It's really going to be a remarkable day. And we follow the next day by another remarkable day. We're going on a canopy tour in a nearby place. Just really, it's right next to Manuel Antonio National Park. There is a canopy tour area. So you see there's stairs you take up here onto these bridges. You notice that the people are secured in. So you've got a climbing harness on, and you basically climb up here onto platforms that are anchored to trees, and we'll gather there with a guide, and then we will fly through the jungle. Zip lining really is fun. A lot of the kids who went on our last trip to Belize and Guatemala found that we did a zip lining day, and for a lot of them that was one of their favorite things they did. This place has a lot of zip lines, I think 14 of them, including one that's almost a mile long. You have views of the jungle, of mountains, of the beach. It's going to be a very, very, very memorable day. But it's also our last full day there. So as we leave Quepos, we'll head back, and we're going to make a stop here, just north of Oaxaca, to take a very interesting type of tour. The Tarcoles River is home to about 2,000 of these rascals. These are saltwater American crocodiles, not alligators like they have in Florida, but crocodiles. These crocodiles, like one like this, these long ones, are 20 to 25 feet long. I'm going to say that again. I want you to think about it, 20 to 25 feet long. And we're going to see a lot of them. And we're going to see them up close from a boat with a guide who is familiar with how to interact with them. And so the last friend you make in Costa Rica may very well look like this here. And then sadly, we will have to fly home the very next day. But you know what? We'll be flying back to the Seattle area, which is a beautiful place in its own right. But you know, it's kind of nice to get away to a tropical environment and come back and find it's been raining here the whole time. But anyway, that is our trip. So let's get into some of the other details. So hopefully I've got you convinced that it's a fun thing to do. Now let's just see how you go about doing it. Okay, let's talk about what's included. Round-trip airfare to and from Costa Rica, all transportation. So we have a bus that's dedicated just to us. That's why we need a minimum of 20 people. Otherwise, we don't get our own bus. And if we don't get our own bus, we're not going to go because we don't want to have to share with another group who's going to do a totally different tour than this. And we don't know what kind of people they are, you know, if they're partiers or whatever. So Sarah, Fisher, and I both feel like it's best only to take a trip as long as we can have our own dedicated transportation, have our own bilingual tour director that's just for us. So if you do sign up and we don't get to 20 people by May 15th, we'll cancel it and everyone will get their money back. But it also the fee covers all sightseeing tours and site visits. So the zip lines, the boat tours, the whatever, it's all covered in this cost. Also, overnight stays in all the hotels. They all have private bathrooms. Students, you'll be 3 to 4 to a room, so that you will have to share beds on this trip. Parents, you don't. That's why you pay the extra. Breakfast, dinner, and lunch is covered, which is a nice thing because having lunch covered really means you don't have to spend a whole lot of money on this trip other than to pay for the trip itself, but you don't have to bring a lot with you. Really don't really need to bring much at all, except to buy souvenirs. Also, we get the full-time service of a professional bilingual tour director, and I must say, on our last trip, the person we had was absolutely amazing and really made the trip so amazing, so entertaining. Just kept us safe, kept us on task, kept us informed, helped us understand the culture. Really, these tour directors are magnificent people. Now, here's some things that the cost that are not included in this. Passports. If you don't have a passport, you've got to get one. It's about $150 to get a passport. I forget. If you need to get them, talk to us. We'll have meetings where we talk about how to get passports if you don't have it. There's some tipping that needs to be done, and we'll probably want to have the students. We'll calculate how much it needs to be, but I think on the last trip we did, it was about $80, I think, in tips that we needed to cover for all the different people, the driver of our bus, the tour director, the different places we went. Snacks and beverages, a lot of times, although dinner is covered, sometimes, the drink you get is water, so, you might want to buy yourself a soda at dinner time. Sometimes they give you fruit juices, but, you want to go experience these towns and convenience stores, so you want to bring a little bit of money for that. For souvenirs, obviously you want to bring some souvenirs. Meals on travel days are not covered, so, for instance, when we're flying down to Costa Rica, obviously they can't cover our meals in the airport, so you'll have to cover your own there. And free time activities, you might have noticed this trip doesn't offer us a whole lot of free time, but there is some, and it shouldn't cost you too much money. Let's see what's next. Okay, so if you want to see detailed pricing, you just go here to explorica.com/Fisher-2374, and the trip will be explained. What you'll find is that right now the student cost is $2,786. That does include a $100 discount that is only available through April 30th. So if you want to get this price here, you need to go ahead and sign up in the next 8 days or so, because on May 1st it's going to go up $100. And to get this the extra $100 off, there's a code I'll show you in a little bit, and you have to enter the April 100 off when you sign up. Also, if you traveled with Explorica before, you can take an extra $100 off your trip. Now, I should also point out that this price could go down a little bit if more than 20 people sign up. There are different ways you can pay for this. The way that Sarah paid for her child, the way I paid for mine, was using the automatic monthly payment plans. When you sign up, you'll have to put down a $100 deposit on your credit card, and then you can set it to be billed automatically on your credit card. So basically it's 10 payments of $270, something like that. I didn't really notice it over the course of the year. Maybe that's just because I'm not very good at looking at my credit card statements, but that's the way that most of our participants did it. You can also set up as a manual payment plan, or just pay the whole thing in full if you have the resources available right now. But those are your options, and there's more details on that when you get to the Explorica website. We strongly recommend that you purchase travel protection. They have two different types of travel protection. There's one that you can get, which is was $12 per day, and I think it works out to be for us it's a little less than $100, right around $100. And basically that covers you against things like the flight got canceled for bad weather, or you got hurt and you broke your leg or something like that. And this has happened to people on other trips, not on our trips, but I know there have been people on other trips I've heard of who suffered medical problems as a result of, say, falling off a stair. I think is what this one man did. and it covered all his medical expenses, his private coach to be flown home, and what have you. So it really is a wise thing to do. If you want to pay a little bit extra, on $18 per day of trip, you can get a travel protection plan plus, and basically this gives you an out. Is a no reason given. So you're mad at your boyfriend, don't want to go on a trip with him. That's good enough reason. For this one here, you'd have to have a medical reason why you were going to get your money back. But if you have any questions about it, you can call this number right here, and they'll help you. And also you can talk to Sarah and I. We'd be more than happy to explain how it works. Or you can go online and see what their travel protection plans are here, and you can get here from our website. And so our website looks something like this. I'm constantly changing the web page a little bit, but when you go on, you'll see that basically our website is found at www.fisherandsampson, there's no P in my name, adventures.org, not .com, and it brings you to click our homepage, and there's tabs on our itinerary, on our different activities, the places, the wildlife, safety, costs, questions and answers, about the trip leaders, why we chose Costa Rica, and how to sign up. So you click the sign up button and it will take you to the Explorica page. And when you get to the Explorica page, you'll see something that looks kind of like this. This is the one for Belize. But there'll be a button over here that says sign up now. You'll click on that and it will take you through how to enter your information about both the traveler and their parents. To sign up for our tour, when you get to this page here that says sign up for tour, this is the code you'll need to enter, Fisher-2374. And again, this is on our web page that we put together, the green one. But you had to type that in there and then hit go, and it will take you to the place where you can sign up. So a few details I'd like to cover before we finish this up. All participants obviously need to have a current passport. Costa Rica only wants to be good the day beyond. When you get there, we recommend that you have it at least good for half a year to a year beyond the time of your travel. It's the time to get your passport is now. It doesn't take that long for most people, and we'll talk at our meetings about how to get yours. But sooner is better than later. And also, we want one parent or guardian to have a passport, one who's not on the trip, and that's in case something was to happen and we need you to come to Costa Rica, which would not be something that would be anticipated, but it is a wise thing to have a parent who is able to come at a moment's notice, and therefore you would have to have a passport. Clearly, safety is our top priority. It is definitely a huge responsibility to take a group of students to a Central American country, and Sarah and I are very much aware of that, and trust me, we'll agonize over safety the whole year. First of all, students will always travel in groups. No one is ever allowed to travel alone. Groups of 3 is the minimum. They always know, even if they're just going to the bathroom, we know where they're going. There's adult supervision in almost all cases, but there are times where we do want the kids to have a little bit of freedom, but not a whole lot. We have chaperones. I think is about pretty close to a 5-to-1 ratio that we'll have on this trip. All the chaperones will be trained in first aid and CPR. We'll carry first aid kits with us, as will our tour director. Kids, drinking, drugs, inappropriate activity, certainly not going to happen on this trip. We will be checking, and we will send you home if we find that you are making some bad choices. You really do not want to end up in a Costa Rican prison. You really don't want to have those kind of problems. So we are going to make sure before you get there that you know what the circumstances are, and that you realize that this is not a time to engage in those types of activities. Also, our trip leaders will have lots and lots of water. I mean, we will basically be hydrating like crazy on this trip. We'll also carry extra sunscreen and bug spray. Safety really is our top priority here. We want to do this, and we want to do it in a fun and safe way. So, but the thing is, no matter how much you might want to do an activity, it's up to Sarah and I and our tour director to make a decision about whether or not it's safe. So let's just say, even though we're going in the dry season, April is the dry season in Costa Rica, but rains can happen, and if we get to the river and it's been raining and the water level looks high, we might have to say, you know what, not safe, we're not doing it, we'll do something else instead. Or if we get to the beach and there's lightning, we might say, you know what, we're going to have to go back to the hotel because we're not going to be out on the beach when there's lightning. So safety is our top priority, and we will make decisions with safety in mind as the first and foremost factor in our decision making. One of the most important things we can do to make this a smooth trip is make sure that we have good communication. So once you sign up, you will find that we are going, well, as soon as you sign up, you'll start getting a newsletter from us. There will be after school meetings. We won't burden you with these. We'll have as many as we need, and they'll get more frequent as we get closer to it. But these will mostly just be about how to make sure that you're keeping everything happening the way it needs to in order to getting all your paperwork done to make sure the trip works, make sure passports are in, and so on. And as far as communication, it will become more frequent as we approach the departure date. And in closing, I just want to say, parents, we certainly understand that the anxieties you might have. And so Sarah and I both are very excited to take kids on this trip. We would very much like you to consider sending your kid on this trip. We understand it is expensive, and that it is a big part of a family's budget to do this. And so we do everything in our power to make this a positive and memorable and an educational experience for every kid who participates. We also do everything in our power to make sure that everyone understands how to be safe and know what they're getting into. And so we anticipate that perhaps some of you might have some questions that we haven't addressed that you would like to talk to us about. So please, the best way to do it is to go to our website, and there is an email Mr. Sampson, email Mrs. Fisher. If you click on that and just give us your cell phone number in an email, we'll call you right away, and we can have a chat about and answer any questions you might have. So anyway, thanks for watching this, and hope that you are considering signing someone up for this.